Welcome back everyone to our custom career mode and VR gameplay. And we're coming off a fantastic race at Martinsville. It was so much fun to drive those trucks. Now, the truck itself felt numb. It really even just felt dead to drive because there was very little feedback from the chassis. And we talked about why it felt that particular way during the race. But the last 30 to 40 laps of that race, we really had to hustle that truck. It was on the verge of spinning out every corner exit for about the last 30 laps or so. It made it a lot of fun to drive, but it made it very hard to make up positions, whether we're talking about passing a lap truck or actually making passes for race position. So let's take a look at the numbers. Of course, we started in the 15th position. Now, the incident count actually surprised me a little bit. It said we had a total of 4. So I'm going to go ahead and double that to 8. It's still about $3,300, so not that much money to deal with, but I actually don't remember having anything other than just incidental contact over the course of that race. I know we did have some contact after the checkered flag. Maybe that's what it's gathering, or maybe I simply forgot about some contact that we had during the course of the race. But either way, a total of 8 incidents, and as I look through the field, overall, there were a few trucks here and there that had some contact, but overall, a very clean race, and that's certainly the way it appeared through my windshield. Now, the finish, I mentioned that it was a spectacular race. Well, we came home inside the top 5 with a 4th place finish. Now, you notice that a 4th place finish is quite a bit different in money as opposed to a 2nd place finish that we got at Atlanta. Now, both of these were normal events. We're not dealing with any special event or a crown jewel event here as a difference between the two. But as I've mentioned before, and I will continue to point out, 1st place to 2nd, you can see there is a nice size drop there. But then, as you continue on through the top 5, from 1st to 2nd, 2nd to 3rd, and so on, down through the top 5, there are large drops there, and then it went from 6th place on down. It starts to really even out a lot more, but it is definitely in your best interest to win or finish in the top 2 or 3 if you want to maximize the profit. So that has us very much in a great position going forward. Our average finish is 3rd. It's hard to beat that. In 4 races so far this season, our average finish is 3rd. Yeah, you can make some serious money doing that. And right now, we're making some great sponsorship money. But there's something else I want to talk about before we get to Bristol. And that is the future of this series. So if we hop over to the classified, we're at $625,000, which is not bad at all. Very nice, in fact. But we need $1.9 million to move up to the Cup. And we've talked about skipping Xfinity entirely, so we can go straight into Cup with a single chassis and focus on that until we can earn enough money for a full-time ride, exactly like we did with the trucks. However, I'm thinking of making a huge change to this series moving forward, and it has to do with this spreadsheet itself. So I've actually been working on designing my own career spreadsheet. And the reason I did that isn't because I don't like the spreadsheet that we're currently using. I think it's fantastic. But there are some things, particularly coming up in the future, that we're going to be looking at. Things like starting our ownership side of things and maybe owning a super late model team, a truck team, Xfinity team, and so on. I'm not thrilled with how that is handled in the spreadsheet for the way I play. And that is the huge consideration here. It's all based on my personal preference. This is a fantastic spreadsheet, but I knew that it wasn't going to meet my needs on the ownership side of things. So I decided to give it a shot, and I have created my own spreadsheet. So I'm planning on moving to that once we get done here in the trucks, because my future plans for this series are for us to get into the Cup Series. But then once we get into the Cup Series, I want to start branching out on the ownership side of things. And we'll talk about and see how it works out as to what we're going to get into. Is it the super lates? Is it owning a truck team, Xfinity team? And then ultimately, of course, we want to own Cup teams. But once we get into that, it's going to be a lot of fun because we're going to be building an organization, not just running for our own profit or our own trophies. We're actually going to set up other drivers to run for their own. Now, you can do that within this spreadsheet. I don't want to give the impression that this spreadsheet doesn't have that. It does. I simply have a difference in play style with how this one is set up to work versus how I would prefer for it to work. So that's why I've designed my own. So I just wanted to make that clear, but I do plan on making that change as we get to the point where we're ready to move out of the trucks. When will that be? Well, time will tell. We're running great so far. If we can keep that up, then it might not be too long from now. So as we move our way back over to 2022 here in the truck series, we're ready for Bristol, and then after that, Dover, before we get back to a couple of 1.5 mile tracks that we've been to before. So Bristol is the Coliseum. We've had great finishes there in the past, but those were in the super late models. How well are we going to do in the trucks? Is the truck going to feel similar at Bristol than it did at Martinsville? That's going to be a handful if that's the case, but a lot of unknowns. But hey, at the end of the day, it's Bristol. All right, folks, here we are at the Coliseum, Bristol Motor Speedway. And this is easily my favorite track to visit in VR. It's not even close. I mean, just look at the grandstands. Look at all of the people. This place is simply amazing. Now, 100 laps is our race distance today, which can be very short or very long, depending on how our truck is handling and what kind of speed we've got. I tried out both the Bristol setup as well as the Bristol Open setup, and really, I can't get this thing to rotate the way I need to without it becoming unstable. So we're going to see how this thing works. I started with the Bristol Open setup, made a few tweaks, and we're going to see how it goes. But I don't have high hopes right now. As far as the AI skill spread, it's 80 to 100. That's the same as we used at Martinsville. I'm hoping it works as well here as it did at Martinsville.
Okay, bud, green flag, next time by.
Now, one change for today's race, and I am hoping that we can use this going forward, but in the most recent AI update from iRacing, we have a change in how the races are started and restarted. By default, ever since the AI were introduced, starts happen as soon as the pace car pulls off the track. The leader generally goes as soon as that happens. That's what we're used to. Now, we're going to be using the restart zone, the Geico restart zone. So that's what I'm going to be watching. It's painted on the outside wall. So coming out of 4, they're approaching it now. So at any point,
green flag,
the flagman can start the race.
Got one outside.
So a little different than what we're used to, and I'm hoping that that will just become our new default as long as it works the way it's supposed to and the AI behave the way they're supposed to. That's my plan. All right, let's see how this thing does. So again, my goal was to get this thing to rotate without becoming unstable, because unstable is no good. Not here at Bristol where you're so close to other trucks at all times. Yeah, this thing is definitely loose. So right now I'm not worried about where we are, what type of position we're in, anything like that. None of that matters. We're just trying to get some heat in the tires and survive.
Stay on the bottom. Clear outside.
If I can get this thing to calm down a little bit. And then we can actually get some stability in this truck, then maybe then we'll worry about our speed and where we are on the track in the running order. But right now this thing is really loose.
Keep low, clear.
Alright, I'd like to get up in that top lane, but I want to be very deliberate about it because we're too early in this race to try to force our way up there. So right now I'm just going to ride it out. And then every once in a while I'll glance up, like now, and see that we have room to get up there. So we had a lot of success up here in this second or third groove in the super lates. That was a lot of fun in the super lates. I'm hoping that we can do the same thing here.
Got one inside.
All right, let's see how this thing handles up here in this second or third groove. Ooh, this thing, yeah, we're right on the edge. I can just feel that right rear coming out from under me on corner exit. One of the issues you have here is if you get really aggressive with the front end on the shocks, then this thing will start hopping, like right there on corner entry into the center, and it'll just hop the truck right up the track. So I'm dealing with some of that as well. But that's, for me, part of the fun of the career mode is I have to deal with whatever setup that iRacing provides me. Now, I do make a few changes to it, but nothing, no wholesale changes. I'm not changing, you know, for the most part, I don't touch the shocks, I don't touch the springs, I don't touch the front bar, you know, anything like that.
Keep it on top.
I keep it to track bar adjustments, maybe a little bit of caster or toe, something like that. Very simple. All right, so as things are starting to calm down a little bit, I mean, it is still Bristol. We're still a little bit on edge here with the setup, but it's nowhere near as bad as it could be. I'm just trying to baby this thing around the track right now. 100 laps is going to be a long time, I got a feeling, today. As our front end is hopping around quite a bit if I push the entry any at all. We get down on that splitter and it just hops straight up the track. So you can see right now I'm running about a groove off, sometimes a half groove off the bottom. And if we've got the speed, you know, I'll move around a little bit and see what works for the truck. But I'm just hoping we can keep some rotation in this thing, because my fear is that it's going to go dead tight over the long run. And if it does that, then we're probably going to get lapped if that happens. Because that means we're going to spend a lot of time out of the gas and we're going to be slow. Because these guys are not slow. I mean, I am maybe catching these guys in front of me a tiny bit, but not by a lot. And we're running in the 14th position, folks. So any thoughts we might have had about being able to jump into that top 5 pretty quick, you know, fight for the lead, it's not coming to fruition right now. Not at this skill spread. 80 to 100 is just not it. You can see the 88, he's starting to give me a little room on the outside there, even on the straights.
Inside. Keep high.
I'm hoping the long run will be our friend. But again, that's only going to be the case if we can keep some rotation in this truck. And since I can't do anything about the setup during the race, it's going to have to be an adjustment to how I'm driving it. But this is definitely, so far, the truck is better than anything I tested prior to this. Because when I was testing, particularly the Bristol setup, not Bristol Open, but Bristol, it was brutally tight. The Bristol Open setup was also tight, so I made a few adjustments, but again, I don't want to get too in-depth with setup changes here for the career mode. Alright, so we are gaining on these guys a little bit at a time in front of us, and I want to keep it that way. So I'm not trying to push to get all we can get right now. I'm just trying to hang in there, and if we're a little bit faster than these guys, that's good. Let's keep it that way, because it's going to be a long race. And if we get no cautions, In fact, I'm kind of hoping we don't get any cautions because I have no idea where we're pitting. We're using the dual pit road. Not that we would need both of them, because I don't think we have enough trucks out here to need both of them, but I have no idea where we're pitting. Alright, here on maybe the next straightaway, I'm going to try to look and see what lap we're on. Alright, lap 28, so we're a quarter of the way through. We have not made it into the top 10, but of course we can see the top 10 right in front of us. Oh, look out, 23 off the pace. I really don't want to be to his inside though. Oh, Stuart Friesen doing the same thing. Not sure what's causing these guys to get up the track. Could be that the truck is simply getting loose mid-corner, or maybe on entry. Maybe they simply had to get on the brakes hard. I believe that is Gray, the 15, right in front of Friesen, so maybe he's a little off the pace and these guys are trying to figure out how they're going to get around him. The AI can be very hit or miss when it comes to making passes. Every once in a while you'll see them make a pass and you'll think, wow, that was really smooth. And then sometimes they'll follow a much slower car or truck for a long time. So it is very hit or miss with them.
Still there. Stay right there. Stay high.
Just trying to be very patient right now. As much as I want to pass him, I'm trying to remind myself we're only a quarter of the way through this thing. Probably getting close to a third of the way through at this point. But of the two of us, he's wearing out his stuff a lot more than I am right now. Being on the bottom, trying to make it work. So I'm trying to keep it that way. If he wants to fight hard for that spot, that's fine. He can fight hard for it. I'm just going to run my lane.
Keep high. Clear to the bottom. Got one inside.
Oh, we were clear for like a half second.
Still there. Stay right there.
And the truck really wants to hop around on the front end.
Stay right there. Clear. Inside.
Well, I really thought he would have given up by now,
Keep it on
but
top.
he has not. So he's going to fight this thing tooth and nail.
Keep it on top. Stay right there.
So now we're just going to have some fun, running side by side. This doesn't bother me at all. Of course, I'm hoping that he doesn't lose the front end coming off the corner and take us both out. I mean, but come on. We got to have some fun here.
Keep it on top.
Ultimately, we're here to have fun, and it doesn't get any more fun than running side by side at Bristol. But you can see that Friesen, and I believe that's the 15 Gray in front of him. But you can see they're getting a little bit smaller. Trying to look behind us to see if anybody is catching us from behind. Yep, they're coming to us. Alright, so we had our fun, but the 23, it would appear, is simply faster than us right now. He was able to pass us on the bottom, which is no easy feat considering where I'm running on the track. Oh yeah, yeah, we don't like this bottom down here. That's just a bit too much to ask of the truck on the long run, I think, and particularly too much to ask of that right front. So let's just try run it up the hill a little bit. Try to save that right front as much as we can anyway. I am very impressed with the speed of the AI at this particular spread of 80 to 100. I like it when the AI are fast because I can always reduce the AI difficulty. I can always lower the spread down. The problem is when you get them up at the maximum 125 and they're still not fast enough. That's where the problems come in. So if they're going to be fast, and of course we just had an update, so it could be simply that the AI are faster now. I didn't read through line by line the update notes, so maybe they are going to be faster. And that is certainly fine with me. We'll just figure out the new norm, the new spread we need to use, and we'll move on from there. I'm particularly excited about when we... Oh, halfway, okay. All right, I also saw, it's the first time I've really glanced down in a while, and I noticed that the leader's coming. So we are about to get lapped because the leader is on it. I mean, keep in mind, folks, we're running 13th. And 50 laps into a run, this guy is on it. I mean, we've certainly seen 13th get lapped, but not 50 laps into a run. All right, so you can see I'm starting to lose grip in the truck, so I'm trying to maintain at this point. This is what I feared would happen. Just cannot get enough rotation in this truck over the long run. It just goes extremely tight. So apparently I haven't done everything I needed to do.
Got one inside. Keep high. Clear the bottom.
So now we have to deal with it. For the last half of the race, we're going to have to see just how bad this gets versus the AI.
Inside. Clear.
If we were using the caution clock,
Clear.
then it seems like we had a caution somewhere around lap 60 to 70 in the Super League. So we would definitely get a caution here in the trucks using the caution clock, but as we talked about before, the caution clock was having some effects that I didn't like, so I don't want to use it on a regular basis. It was causing the AI to not pit at times that it was a pretty easy decision to pit, and pit at times when there was no reason to pit. So it was messing with the flow of how the AI were running the race, since they don't know the caution is coming, and apparently don't change their behavior even if it does. So a lot going on with that. I'm not saying we're never going to use it again, but I don't think it's going to be something we're going to want to use all the time.
They're inside.
All right, I've got to think.
Right front tire's wearing out.
Yes, I'm sure it is wearing out.
Keep it on top.
I wish I could say it's not wearing out because we got a long way to
Stay right
go.
there.
All right, so that's the leader. So Zane Smith is our leader.
Clear.
And of course, as much as I would love to think I could fight him, remember, he's lapping us, so he is way faster than us. So we're just going to keep running our race and get the best finish we can. But one thing I am very excited about, started to talk about a few moments ago, and then we got sidetracked by a few other things, is this move to my own personal spreadsheet that I have done for career mode. Very excited about that because it's going to allow us some freedom to do some things that the current spreadsheet just simply is not going to allow, not the way I would like to. So that's why I decided to do my own. It's going to look very different in a lot of ways because I did not try to copy the existing spreadsheet. That was never the goal. I simply started with a blank sheet and said, okay, what would I like to see in a career mode, and how can I get that as, you know, clean and simple as possible in a spreadsheet. And so that's what I did. It's gone through several iterations at this point.
Keep it on top.
But what I'm going to be using is what I'm going to consider version 1 of the spreadsheet.
Stay high.
And I really tried to simplify it as much as possible because there were a lot of things that I was including that ultimately I decided it was just no reason to include those things at the level I was using, so I backed off of that.
Keep high.
But I really think it's going to allow us to have some serious fun.
Keep it on top.
And I think this is the appropriate time to start using it once we move into the Cup cars, because the Cup cars, once we get into Cup, we have two goals.
Clear.
First goal is very simple: to compete for race wins and championships. And then the second one is to start to build an organization of our own, where we own, not just drive the car, but we actually own cars in different series and that type of thing. And that's what I think my spreadsheet's going to allow us to do, really at a very simple level, and allow us to do the things that I would like to do on the ownership side of things without having to worry too much. All right, where are we running? I've been so focused on this. All right, 14th, I believe, because I figured Matt Crafton was for position. And once again, I did not want to lose that position, but we're not in a position to do a lot of fighting for position right now. I just don't have the turn in the truck. I'm just trying to, at this point, honestly, I'm trying to make sure, if as best I can, that this right front makes it to the end of this race. Because this thing is brutally tight.
Got one inside.
Oh, look out. I didn't like seeing that fender that close to me.
Stay high.
Because that generally means that whoever it is that's trying to pass us is struggling like we
You're
are.
inside.
So we're losing some spots now. The question is, how many?
Inside. Keep high. Clear to the bottom.
So unfortunately,
Inside.
the AI are going to have a good bit more speed than us over the long run. To be expected.
Clear to the bottom.
You know, if you can keep the truck fairly neutral, it's generally going to go tight most of the time, but if you can keep it fairly neutral, then you have a good shot. But in this case, it's gone so tight that there's no reason for me to expect that the AI would be struggling near as bad as I am. And right now, I gotta tell you, I'm looking for that checkered flag, because the biggest thing I'm thinking about right now is save that right front tire. So I'm trying to float it into the corner. That's the reason I moved up a little bit higher in a lot of cases on the track. And then once this thing rotates, then we try to be gentle with it on the exit, because we got to save that tire. Because if it pops and we hit the wall, that's going to cost us a lot of money. Especially with my personal spreadsheet, it will get expensive in a hurry if we start having serious contact and wrecking race cars. Look at that. The 16 has certainly had some serious contact with the wall.
20 to go to straight.
All right, 20 laps to go.
Got
We're
one
3/4 of
inside.
the way through this race,
Still there.
and all right, I got to believe the 4 is not
on
for
top.
position. I got to believe he's coming by to lap.
Clear.
That would be my guess. Yeah. So he's running 3rd.
Inside. Stay right there.
And right now I feel like it's best for me to not pay a whole lot of attention to where we're running.
There's the bottom. Got one inside. Keep it on top. Still there.
But boy, it looks like
Clear inside.
this has got to be the last time we finish race at Bristol,
Stay right there.
because this setup simply will not compete. Not without lowering the AI skill spread quite a bit.
Got one inside. Stay right there. Stay right there.
Because ultimately I'm going to have to
Keep high.
make some serious changes to this setup if we're going to have any sort of long run speed. These are the races where your fans are sitting in the stands wondering, what in the world is happening? Why doesn't he go faster? And the driver's like, I wish I could go faster. Trust me. I wish I could go a lot faster. But short of running through a right front tire every 50 laps, this is about as fast as I'm going to be able to take it.
Inside. Clear. Got one inside. Keep it on top.
But yeah, it feels like I'm creeping around the track, and well,
There's the bottom.
the speed of the AI around me would indicate that I pretty much
Still
am.
there. Still there. Stay right there.
So this has certainly not turned out anywhere close to the way the Super Lates did for us. All right, where are we at? Okay, we're coming to 10 to go.
Keep it on top. Stay high.
Ooh, that got touchy for a moment. I thought we were going to be 3 wide. I was backing out of it because there was nothing for us to gain by going 3 wide there.
Still there.
Sometimes you're the bug, sometimes you're the windshield.
Stay right there.
Guess which one we are today.
Got one inside. Clear to the
Wow,
bottom.
this is just really making me think though,
Inside.
because as I mentioned, we're
Clear to
using
the bottom.
essentially the Bristol Open setup with minor change. A couple of minor tweaks to the setup. So what if we were
Got one
using that,
inside.
the standard Bristol setup,
Still there.
which was much tighter than this? I mean, I don't know that we
Stay
would have a
high.
right front past lap probably 60 or 70 if I were using that setup.
Stay right there. Clear to the bottom.
Oof. Yep, I need every bit of the racetrack now. Man, the AI are just on it. I know we're way off the pace, but they seem like they are maintaining a great pace, so they are very well
5 laps
balanced.
to go.
All right, yep. I think he said, well, did he say 3 laps to go? Shouldn't be 5 because I'm
Got
a
one
lap
inside.
down. Or at least one. I don't
Keep it
think
on
we've been
top.
lapped twice yet. But ouch is the only thing you can say about this one. There's a lot of work to be done with this setup.
Inside.
This is where me and the crew chief have to have a sit down
White flag.
after the
One more
race
lap
and
to
say,
go.
look, we just
Next two
can't.
cars in front for 4th position. Still there. Clear inside.
Yep, there he is. There's our second lap down. All right, so we should be coming to the checker.
You're dropping a lot of fluid. We have to fix it. That's the checker flag.
Wait, dropping a lot of fluid?
And we'll get 'em next time.
Wow. That's interesting. I haven't heard that before because we haven't hit anything. All right, so let's jump on by here. And we'll try to get down and get into the pits. But yeah, this was just a brutal race. You hate to see this. We'll just go ahead and jump into the backstretch pits. Doesn't matter. But this is just one of those races where nothing went right. The setup was never, ever going to work. So let's actually hop out. And let's take a look at the finish, the standings. All right, so our final results, wow, 23rd. I mean, we were running up in here, 12th, 13th, 14th, but by the end, that's how much right front tire we were down. It was just brutal. So Jack Wood and Haley Deegan were the only two people that were having a worse race than us. Oh, man, that is brutal. All right, so Zane Smith, well, we got to see him a few different times. Parker Klickman, great race for Parker. John Hunter, Ben Rhodes, and Carson Hocevar, those are your top 10. So not really a lot of surprises there, except for Parker. I do have him pretty strong in this particular car set, and that's why I like to see Parker do well, because I think he has a lot of talent. But if just looking down through the rest of the top 10, you've got Chandler Smith, Ty Majeski, Christian Eckes, our good buddy Matty D is in there, and then Tanner Gray, maybe a little bit better than I would have expected from him. But yes, a lot of the usual suspects ends up, we have a total of 8 trucks on the lead lap by the end. So wow, what a humbling race. That's going to do it for today. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and stick around for more custom career mode and VR gameplay.